Aratai recently took over the Indian market by surprise.
WhatsApp has a new challenger in India, Zoho's Aratai.
Aratai, a made-in-India messaging app.
Homegrown app called Aratai.
Aratai, built by Zoho, is suddenly making headlines after witnessing a jaw-dropping rise in daily sign-ups.
Everyone was talking about it. Even the government ministers were asking people to download it, and for a while it felt like that there is finally a platform which can replace WhatsApp in India and give India its first ever successful social messaging app. But in less than 2 months, that story is largely over. The monthly downloads of Aratai have collapsed by almost 99% from 13.8 million downloads in October. The number has come down to less than 200,000 in November. And as a result, the app which was number 1 on Indian app stores has now fallen out of top 100. And we are back to the same debate that why Indian social media companies fail against global players. And we thought about this as well. We dug a little deeper and analyzed all the major social apps India has built in the last 10 years. And we realized that there are just 3 big reasons why Indian companies fail at building social media. Basically, the same mistakes are done over and over again. And so in this video, let's try and understand what are these challenges. Why have all the major apps like Hike, Koo, Moj, and now Aratai have failed? And we also talk about how to avoid these mistakes. So let's understand all this in this video of Backstage with Millionaires, a channel that is also part of Zerodha's 01 network. Okay, so for this video, we'll take the 5 most popular Indian social media platforms till now and then analyze why they failed or are struggling to survive today. And the 5 apps are Hike and Aratai on one side, then there is ShareChat and Moj, and finally Koo. And the reason I've categorized them like this is because Hike and Aratai both try to be India's WhatsApp alternative, then there is ShareChat and Moj, which are Facebook and TikTok clones, and finally there is Koo, which tried to be India's Twitter. And this is exactly the first problem why Indian social media apps fail. They try to copy global apps and make their Indian alternatives. There is just no major differentiation. There is no pain point or real need that these apps are solving. See, when WhatsApp had started in India back in 2010, it solved a very major pain point, and that was it made texting free. See, before WhatsApp came, people used to pay for every single text messages that they send. And people who are 30 and older watching this video would remember that. For every text message you sent, you had to pay anywhere from 10 paisa to 1 rupee. And although this doesn't sound too much, but if you were sending 500 to 1000 messages every month, it did become a significant amount. And that's why people were very careful of sending text messages. And we used to count how many texts we have sent in a day. And WhatsApp solved this completely. It said that even if you have a slow 2G internet, you can send unlimited messages. It basically made texting free. But Hike and Aratai, on the other hand, just try to give the same value and similar features as WhatsApp, with the only differentiation being that they were Indian. And similarly, TikTok also became successful because it introduced a brand new way of consuming content, which is basically short form content. It built an algorithm that was insanely good at analyzing short form content, and all the users had to do was scroll and consume. And this was a breakthrough in the field of social media. And when Reels became big, few companies like Moj just launched TikTok's clones in India. Similar offering, similar product, only differentiation being that they were Indian. And same was the case with Koo, which tried to become India's Twitter. Similar features and similar UI UX. And all of these companies have largely failed. And the reason is just being Indian is not enough. We're living in a free economy where you have to build a better product than the other players and not just play on nationalism. You either have to solve a major pain point like WhatsApp did or introduce a great useful tech like TikTok. And building great tech today has become easier than ever. And that's thanks to AI. Today AI is everywhere. Everyone wants to learn about AI and every company wants to hire people who know how to use AI. But the question is how to learn AI and how to use it to get to the next level. And to get the answer for that, we along with the help of GrowthX have spoken to more than 5,000 people. People who work at companies like Microsoft, Google, OpenAI, Lovable, Meta, and many more. And all of them suggest these 3 steps. Firstly, constantly upskill yourself on AI. Then spend your time to deploy real AI projects, and finally be in rooms with great people who are great with AI. Now of course you can do all of this on your own, or you can join GrowthX. GrowthX is a community of India's finest 5,000 plus leaders who are learning and implementing AI together. They're jamming on ideas in their private online community, attending weekly live classes, and deploying AI projects every single weekend. Plus, once you become a GrowthX member, you get $600 worth of AI credits from day one. And there is so much more to it. Honestly, if you're a working professional, this is the room to be in. And if you want to be a GrowthX member, check out the link in the description down below. And yeah, it's not open for everyone. So do check your eligibility by clicking on the link down below. And now coming back to the video. So, lack of differentiation or a unique insight was the first reason Indian social media apps fail. And the next reason I want to talk about is the lack of a local market. See, normally people think that India is a big market in itself, but that's just half the truth. Yes, in terms of sheer numbers, India is a big market, but in terms of spending power and monetization, India is way behind. And this is something which is very important to build a successful social media platform. Let me give you an example. Take the case of Facebook in the US and TikTok in China. Both of these companies first built a huge user base and a highly profitable business in their home countries. And then they used this money to expand to other markets like India. Facebook, for example, officially came to India in 2010. But its India business became profitable only in 2016, which means it burnt money for 6 years. And where did this money come from? From its home market, which is the US. And this is something which is not possible for Indian companies. India is just not deep enough when it comes to build a high cash flow business, especially in a brand new market. For example, let's take Koo and Hike. Both of these companies started with India, built a significant user base, 100 million in the case of Hike and 10 million for Koo. But these companies always struggled to monetize. And as a result, they could never think of scaling it outside India. And even today, if you think of successful Indian consumer products, for example, Pocket FM, it became successful because it cracked the US market early on. In fact, 70% of Pocket FM's revenue comes from the US. And so it uses this money to expand to other countries. And so the playbook here is simple, that if you want to build a global consumer product from India, you first have to build one high cash flow market and then use this money to scale globally. And finally, the third reason why Indian social apps fail is because of the lack of something called patient capital. See, building a social media network is extremely difficult. You don't know which feature people would like or which power use case will eventually win. And so you have to keep experimenting. First, bring one use case in front of people, let them use it for a few days, and then track the metrics, and then do it again and again until you find something that can scale. But doing this requires capital, and a lot of it. For example, in the case of Facebook, the company was started in 2004, and in the first 5 years, it raised around $500 million in funding before making any profit. And this was possible because US has a structure in place which allows this kind of patient capital to be deployed. But this is not possible in India. Here, it's very difficult to burn hundreds of millions of dollars before you start making any money. Take the example of Koo. It was started by a multi-millionaire Apramaya Radhakrishna, who initially invested his own money in the company. Then he approached VCs and ultimately raised close to $70 million in funding. But after that, the investors gave up. They were not willing to give more money to the company to keep experimenting. So basically, Koo did not have the luxury which Facebook did. And later the founders admitted that we needed 5 to 6 years of aggressive long-term patient capital to make this dream a reality. And they could not find this money, and hence the company shut down. Then there is this company called Medial, who you would have seen on Shark Tank India last year, and they are trying to build a social media platform for professionals in India. And in the show, they got 50 lakh rupees in funding from Ritesh Agarwal. But since then, the company has been struggling to raise any new money. And that's why if a social media company has to succeed in India, they would need someone to back them for 5, 7, 10 years before they think of making any returns. Now, with all these challenges, how to actually go about and build a social media platform in India? Well, you have to address each of the challenges we talked about in this video. Firstly, you have to build a unique use case. Instead of trying what has already been tried before, try to come up with a unique insight. Take a look around you. Look at how people's habits are changing, what is something new that people are adapting, and try to build a product around that. For example, during COVID, when people were stuck inside and screen time was exploding, that's when someone came up with the idea of Clubhouse, a real-time audio conversation. And this became a big hit. Yeah, I know today Clubhouse is no more popular, but it should at least teach us something on how to discover a unique insight. Today, for example, people are going back to offline experiences, concerts, games, travels. So there's a great opportunity to build a social platform there where people can find fun activities, talk to people with similar interests, and also connect for next time. And one great place to identify such insights and talk about them is GrowthX's meetups. I've already told you guys about them. Other than upskilling, it's also a great place to test your idea and get feedback from great people. So do check them out, link is in the description. But in the end, what you have to remember is that the new social media apps won't be like the older ones. Those are done. Look at what's hot now and something that can become big. And finally, to solve the issue of funding and to fund your idea, you need a clarity from day one. Either find a way to make money from the first day, for example with subscriptions or something else, or find an investor who can play a long-term game with you. And yeah, the issue of patient capital is also solving now with time. We are seeing more and more Indian investors who are betting on such risky ideas. And finally, I think we should learn from TikTok in this case. TikTok was built by a company called ByteDance, and ByteDance had these other successful products like a news platform and a social e-commerce platform called Douyin. And what the company did basically is that it took money from these successful businesses to build TikTok, which later became highly successful. So this should inspire our big companies to use their profits from existing segments to experiment and build future technologies. Zoho, for example, is doing the same with Arattai. It's using its profits from SaaS apps to fund Arattai. And although for now it looks like that people are not using it, but who knows? There is a good chance that the company comes up with a few new features that people really enjoy and which can make it win. But anyways, in the end, I want to hear from you. What do you think India needs to do to build its own successful social media platform? And what are some unique insights about the Indian market that can be leveraged to build such a platform? Share your thoughts in the comments. As always, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.